So this is a paragraph from a piece by Linda Musita called Love and Beauty. Mm. I liken myself to honey that attracts ants. I would rather be a flower that attracts hardworking bees, though. They say I was not a beautiful baby, but they also say that that is a blessing because it means I'll grow up into a beautiful adult. Only that does not seem to be happening. Father looks at me and sneers. The paragraph ends. You can read the rest on her book. But like I read just like that dichotomy between like honey and bees, and you can already see like the esteem issues inside this character and like how they're seeing themselves and where they came from. All that with like one paragraph. It's like a little poem. Yeah, I say nice things. You can read more on lindamusita.com.
So at this point, I would like to open the floor to questions. If anybody has questions for our friends here.
I'm a fan of Michael. I'm not yet interacted with your work, so I can't say. Not yet. So I consider my November fully booked, and also I think 2,000 shillings poorer. Sawa. So I have two questions, so I'll ask both of them so that I don't make the photographer overwork. You were talking previously. Oh, my name is Eddie. You were talking previously about demons, and I'm always wondering. You know, writers have been made to be these dark people. Think about the Anton Chekhovs of the world, or even the guy who died recently, even Margaret Atwood. And even if you come local, Yvonne Adhiambo with her Dark Tales. And it always wonders me, is there no space for a happy writer? You know, like just a guy or just a chick who writes happy stories? Because all the stories that I read, by the time I'm done with them, I'm so spent. I'm like, you know, this dystopia that the writer has painted for me, or this world that the writer has painted, it drains me, and it feels like, is there a light at the end of this tunnel, proverbially? So that is my first question. My second question is concerning, maybe even Linda, you can answer. What is the price of the prize? Say, for instance, I mean this in the sense of, like you correctly mentioned, there could be one Ken prize every year. You know, you could be 70 when you are getting it, and it's too late for you, hopefully. And so how important is a prize to a writer's career? Because some people will say, you know, if Kane or, you know, even the local prizes, even Jomo Kenyatta has not honored you, why should we really trust your work that you are better? And then someone, you know, say offshoot like Franklin comes out of nowhere, gets a prize, disappears, and he never writes again. So how important is prizes to a writer's career? Thank you.
I used to say like I struggle to write happiness. I think this my theory, my own theory. It's not I've read it somewhere or anything. Like I just think that we write when something makes us question, and we rarely question our happiness, right? We just experience it. We're like, I'm happy, but also on a more deeper level, like all books are happy books in the sense, right? Like most fiction stories have happy endings. Like what is happiness? Like joy is fleeting, right? Like even when you're and life in itself as a whole, like when you come to the pondering, and maybe if I'm talking about my own writing, like where I'm coming from, right? Like I'm trying to like understand the source code, like the deeper level of what's going on. Whether I'm succeeding or not is a whole other conversation, but that's what I'm trying to do. At that level, I don't even think it's necessarily sad. It just is, right? It just is. And I think that's what people see and project as sadness, because what is like cold and indifferent, right? It's not feeling, it's not trying to comfort you, it's not trying to do something for you. What is what is. You know, the light is bright. If you're happy about the light being bright, that's good for you. If you're sad about the light being bright, that's good for you. But the light is bright, and the light will continue to be bright because that's what the light does. So I think that's what happens to many writers, right? You start writing and you realize the quiet coldness of the world is the quiet coldness of the world, and you have to write it out, right? Even a story with a happy ending, in fact, the ending is made happier by the struggle in the story or the struggle in the poem, by the fact that, nali overcome, alipita yote I may make it. So so yeah, that's my sense on joy. Yeah.
I can't say that I'm a joyous writer. Like I can't write when I'm like maybe at the beach and having a good time. There has to be some difficulty I'm experiencing that I need to just walk away from, and that's when I'd write something worthwhile. And it's also a way of for me processing things, which would maybe later answer Clifton's question. But it's a way of me processing things without being confrontational, because I hate confrontation. So when a lot of my work is inspired by real life, I think if you're a writer and your work is not inspired by something that has happened to you, I don't know, even like those people who wrote fairy tales, the original like Grimm's brothers, like, those things they're not as pretty and rosy as they are now. Like the fairy tales had murders, they had terrible things happening in them. So I've never I have those demons that, you know, sometimes they have to get out. Yeah, they have to get out. So I've never, in my experience, I've never been a writer. If anything I've written when I'm at peace is total shit. I can't even show anyone. Yeah, there's no inspiration when I'm happy. I can't write when I'm happy. I can do many other things. I can listen to music, I can read books, I can enjoy everybody else's art, but I can't even read my own work when I'm happy. I look at my work and I'm like, ah. Yeah, so that's...
So if I want you guys to meet deadline, I just need to promote.
So Lynn Hejenian, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name right, but she actually writes a beautiful meditation called Happily, and it actually begins with the lines, "I continue to write this happily," and then she writes a bunch of stuff happily. It's a beautiful meditation on happiness, and so I guess with all that, if you feel like there's no room, just make it, brother. Yeah, just make it, brother. Yeah.
Hi. This is really wonderful. Thank you for hosting this, DRR and Somanami. I am a fan of Linda Musita, and I will always start by saying I'm a fan. Linda, there's one short story that you wrote that I keep asking you about, and I'll forever ask you about until you give me an answer, and that's Squad. That story really stays with me. Exactly what you've said. You said that you write stories and you want to make sure that they stay with the people. And that story has stayed with me. And I keep asking you about this story. And it's not a sad story, but it's really detailed and I love it. And it's also linked to my second question about social media, right? And if you think about how things are being done now, people with podcasts and book clubs and all these things that are online, do you think if you started Leslie publishing now with social media, do you think that would probably have made a little bit of a difference? Yeah.
When I write, I think about my audience more than the prizes. So for the prizes dichotomy, I feel you write. If you have something to write about, write it well, put it out there. It will find someone, it will find many people, it will find, you will not see them, but it will find people, and you will be shocked how much traction it gets. And on the other part, there's Ngugi who's won things, still trying to win things. That's also what is it? That's also okay, say things and they get me in trouble. That's also a valid way of pushing your career as a writer. So it depends on the kind of person you are, Michael. If it depends on the type of writer you are, what you value more. At some point in your career or in your writing life, you'll apply for 1 million things. You'll get rejected. You'll get hurt. But that doesn't mean that prizes are not worth it. But it also doesn't mean that if you don't get a prize, you're not the real deal.
Just to recap, like I agree with you. Like prizes it's a tool, right? It's a hammer. You can give someone a hammer, they'll build a cabinet. Another one will put it in the floor. and they won't use it. The hammer has done nothing wrong or nothing right. It's just been a hammer, right? I think the people who've won, as you say, won prizes and done nothing. The people who haven't won, Meja Mwangi, and done stuff. And I think the underlying question here for any writer is, if I don't win a prize, am I enough? And that is what I'm saying is bullshit. Like, that is not, I mean, I'm sorry, I understand the fear of like, am I just a bad writer wasting my time? Trust me, if anyone understands whether you're just being a kichwa ngumu, it's me, because like my entire career has been kichwa ngumu my way through. But like, but like, I think that's an underlying fear that you need to get over and get over quickly, right? Because when I was sharing about this talk on LinkedIn, I used the hashtag writers right, and it's not even a hashtag I use often. But the reason I wrote that particularly about was because I was writing about you, Linda, and because you write, and remember the thing is, and that's the thing I'm saying, writers write, right? So why are you a writer? Because you're writing. That's why you're a writer. I remember when I used to work in advertising, and we were young and idealistic, and I was early in my career, and I used to go to the agency at 7 a.m. and 7 a.m. we work, agency life, you work paka usiku. And then usiku, I go back home and I'd write again for like 6-7 hours. Like, just because I was telling myself, no matter how much they make me write, I'm going to unwrite it. They're not going to they're not going to fix me into their way of writing. I think I can't train to write like these guys more than I'm training to write like myself. I don't think you have to be that obsessive. Like, I don't do that anymore. I think I was taking out my anger at agency. But I do think and maybe I'm coming from my own point, because I should disclaimer, right? Me, I've not won anything, so maybe I'm just bitter as Shindangi. But at the end of the day, I don't think those are the yardsticks you should be looking at. If you apply and you win, good job, like, well done you, and it can boost your career, right? But the real question you should be asking yourself, and one thing this writer said is, the only reason you should write is if you must. Like, not because you feel like it, not because, if you must write, and if you want a gauge to whether your writing is good, the gauge that works for me 100% of the time is this true? Just ask yourself, is this true? Have I written a true sentence? If you've written a true sentence, you've done your job.
I want to ask you both, like, that, and Frank and I have talked about this a lot, and the question between memoir and what you write about, the personal, like the very, 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 very personal. Like, do you draw a line somewhere?
I insist it was written inspired by true events. The intention was not drama at all. So it's a story about friendships among women and feminism. At that time, you remember, around 2017.
We don't want to, we all remember.
remember as I talk, just remember the time.
Yeah.
It was 2017. There was so much, there was like this microcosms of women, everyone with their own idea of feminism. Some of us, you couldn't interrogate anything, because the moment you interrogate it, you're attacked. So you could be asking a genuine, honest question because you want to learn, but it's twisted into something else. I remember having an argument with someone about cellulite. There were so many things that happen among women that they were all among themselves gossiping each other. So, and then this person that the center, the squeegee, if you went to primary school in 90s, we used to wash toilets with squeegees. It sucks, it pushes the water forward. So the squeegee, that's a metaphor. She was pushing so you tell something, she pushes it. So she pushed these other characters but even these two women, as they're talking about how bad these other women are, they're still talking about them. So, like, at that point, it's just the realization that even me, I'm not any better than these other people or all these other. When you start saying things and you feel like you're in a safe space with your friends and you feel you can talk or make assumptions or innuendos about other people.
And that's the other thing I like about both writers that we have here today, is that if you notice, we haven't even talked about theory per se, but like it's coming out like from their work, from those who've interacted with their work, like from Linda's dialogue, the theory is there. Like she might not talk about it, and you not hear Linda talking about theory, but it's there. If you read Kudinyana, for example, like there is so much to unpack in there that like you don't necessarily need a theory textbook.
So the story was meant to just be like an eye opener for parents, like your kids 7, 6, 8, 9, 10, they know about sex, they hear you having sex, you pretend, yes, I didn't say you had sex, I said the kids know about sex, that's what I said. So they hear these things, I know they hear these things, and they're also at risk, because when they go out there and they do these funny things, there's always a predator out there looking to capitalize on the excessive things that they have in their head that they can't handle at such a young age. So that was the purpose. Like, your kids know about these things. How you handle it is the best way to protect them. That was it. It wasn't
About porn. It wasn't about porn.
It was not.
Okay, the session is called Rhyme and Reason, and we haven't talked about music. And I know these people, by the way, they have amazing music tastes. Linda's dedicated the book to Nyash, and both like Nyashinsky, and Michael's playlist is always dope if you drive around with him. So I just want to ask, what's on your playlist right now? And then secondly, what's also on your nightstand right now? Like, what are you reading right now?
I've been listening to 2 reggae albums. In Search of Lost Time by Protege,
Nice.
and
That's a good one.
Beauty in the Silence by Soja. Actually, like that last song in Beauty in the Silence. It's called Fall Like Rain, and it's a little poem. The chorus, it's like, we are who we are, we bend and we break, we rise and we fall, we give and we take, we love without a reason, we smile through the pain, and we've been here before, and we're coming again.
Nice. That's a nice.
I really like that last line, and we're coming again. I really like it. It's like, it shows like the song is called Fall Like Rain. It's Fall, yani Tranyesha. We fall like rain. Hey, Tranyesha, that sounds like Trinana. I wasn't trying to. Yeah, so that's what I'm listening to. What I'm reading, sounds so pretentious. I'm reading The Biggest Ideas in the Universe by Steve Carroll. It's a book that explains quantum physics, but not like a story. Like,
Oh, nice.
Like without too much of the mathy. It's just like, this is the story of quantum physics. So I'm really curious about stuff like that. So that's what I'm reading.
All right.
Yeah.
Linda, what's on your playlist?
A lot of what I was listening to when I was writing Tamarud was, I think, Nyashinsky's entire discography, since I've been on it since Feb. Like, yeah, like I swear to God, yeah. Like, yes, he writes like he's being chased by demons, and it's a language I can identify with. Like, it's the nostalgia. Like, he'd say one hander, like we used to say 100, we used to say one hander. So that it takes me back to a very nice place, like the way he uses language that he doesn't, like, you know, the way someone would say this new Gengeton words. Someone comes up with a word, you see a song. Like, he's very authentic, he's real to himself, he's real to his story. He's an extremely good writer. He writes really well. I saw in your blog you wrote something about the line and what is it called? The line and the sentence, something. Yeah. So he has that as well. Like, he's very deliberate about what word comes after this one and why is this word here. He doesn't play around with his work at all. That's very important. He takes and here I'm going to gush. He takes his work very, very seriously, and the language is very familiar to me at my age, and it's still good stuff. I'm also listening to a lot of Nigerian music. Please don't judge me. I love it.
You don't have many things to say.
I love it. Oh, what's his name? Ruga. I know Eric Omondi said that he only has one song and to do one dance style. That's not true. Yeah, he has like 2 EPs, and he produced. No, listen, he produced work during a pandemic. 2 EPs during a pandemic. You can't now come and say that he only has one song, and he doesn't deserve 3 million. He deserves everything he gets. Yeah, so that's what I'm listening. On my nightstand is someone left some books in my house years before. So he left the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Yes, I'm reading that with the child. So just the fantastical, the colors in the book, just the ideas, the funniness, amazing. Just Douglas Adams was. I'm realizing like I had such a gem set of like 4 books. I had such a gem in my house, and I didn't.
And that's one of those books that had a good movie also.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't know. So
my question is actually a follow-up to what Clifton had asked. In your discussion, I didn't like get a clear answer. He had asked, is it enough to write, or should the person who is writing go ahead and publish as well?
It is not enough of anyone with any talent to just do the talent. Like, it's not enough to just sing. It's not enough to just dance. It's not enough to just play a sport. You have to, depending on what unless you just want to do it for fun, like unless your goal is now I've written some things, and then I have a blog and then it's over, unless that's which is fine, which is perfectly okay, right? Even football, not everyone is Messi, sindio. Some people come, they play pick-up football hapa Ngong Road, wanalipa sonne, they play every Wednesday and they enjoy their lives, right? But if your goal is to build something of your writing and to go somewhere, then no, it is absolutely not enough to just write. And to grow in anything, it never will be. And I think the idea, and I used to get very upset when I was young, because mtu who dispels this stuff with ukali is Zukiswa. Zukiswa can even slap you. But like, the idea that, I just get to write and have a fantastic life. See, I wrote. So leave me alone, see, I wrote. Even in a well-to-do like economy, you're going to write and you're going to rewrite that thing 36 times. Like the editor is going to give you rewrites. So and even in those economies, to even get seen by those people, you're going to do so much. You're going to have to, if you want your work to be read. What's this guy, Steph Capella? He says, and if I tell them truth, I probably need them too. Who go write their own words and no one to feed them to, right? Writing is communication. Communication is two-way. Even as you're writing, even if you're writing by yourself in your house for yourself, there's someone who you want to see those words. There's an audience you're writing for. Even if you're not going to send it to that audience, there's an audience to that writing. So anyway, I'm very passionate about this, but I absolutely don't think it will ever be enough to just write. And I think the quicker someone gets out of that mentality, mapema ndio best, ndio.
Like I have done some books myself, and every other day people come to me and tell me that, you know what, I think you have something that you're not telling us. And that, I think that question could be going to to you too, that people think that you have got some weird powers and that's why you're producing books, and there is a belief that if you are self-publishing, then you are not good enough. Why are you running away from where everybody should end up, But I think that there are so many of my friends whose dreams have died because they waited to win the Ken Prize. It never came. They submitted for fellowships and it never came. They submitted to all these publishers that are doing textbooks in Kenya and it never came. And so they went to industrial area or, where I am, those dingy places where you get some shillings and go back home. So I feel like, and then it comes back to the question of people that claim that I'm just an artist. I am not a marketer. I can't go down River Road, look for a pepper. Is it off-white? Is it white? and I always don't understand it, because why is it that you think that, because who cares that you're a writer? Nobody really gives a fuck that you're a writer. You see, and like Musita said, you write because you have to. But I can only imagine that you are writing when you have to, and that book is sitting there with you and there is nowhere to take it, and you don't even know what to do. You know, there's a lady who came to my office and cried and said that, how can I birth this book? You see, and I told her that she had the idea that she's just a writer and somebody has to print it, somebody has to edit it, somebody has to market it. And I told her that you're going to be, it's not going to happen for you, because what is happening in Kenya is that there is a liking to books that are being sold in school because they sell millions. They claim that Kenyans don't read fiction, which is also not true. So what you have to do is that you have to look for the funds. When I first published my book, The Ghost of the True Citizen, the first one that came out was really bad. So I went to Boniface Mwangi and told Boniface Mwangi that, look, this book, I've been told it is so good, but I can't do anything about it. You need to give me money to go and re-edit this book. And I remember Boniface Mwangi gave me 80,000 Kenya shillings, and I will be forever grateful. But what I've realized with writers that they don't even want to ask their brothers for money, their sisters. So they just stuck there, but there is nothing they can do about it. So for me, as a writer who has written and published a lot of times, I want to tell everybody that is sitting on their manuscript that you just get up, go out there and do something about your manuscript. Because if you don't, the manuscript will never be seen by anybody else.
To just build a community. I think it's what he said and what he said. Build a community among... I won't call it marketing. Build a community around yourself. You have social media, build a community around your social media. Build a community among writers. Reach out to people. Before we used to... I was checking my email. I have emails of you from like 2010, 2013. He sent me this thing in when was it? 2020, yeah, before it even became a book. So just reach out to other writers. When we talk about each other, when your time comes, we'll always uplift you. When opportunities come, we'll always push you in that. I think that's happened for everyone who's reached out. Akina Troy with Lolwe. Troy came, you could think he popped out of nowhere, but he was in festivals, quietly observing people, seeing who he can talk to and stuff. Yeah, and then he was slowly brought to the front. So it's build community. Even when you feel like you don't have money, you have stories, share with them, ask for opinions, take them the way you take them. Inauma, but unaibeba tu na unaendelea. But just build a community more than anything.
I think over and above what we can do as individual editors, that sense of community really helps, because we, for example, us, we rely on series editors because we don't know everything. And there's no way I'm going to start like reading through 400 submissions and then rejecting things like I'm all powerful and everything. I need like 2 other series editors with me, and then we have readers peer as well. So that community sort of removes the burden from one person being like, the heavy-handed editor to several, such that like your work can't be, if it's rejected by one editor and then Michael loves it and I love it, then can be like Linda Tundiani Pendi. But then if all of us will be like, it's not yet fitting the theme of the issue, it's not yet there per se, we just, sort of give you that feedback, talk to you, and there's that opening where now we can, like, if you really, really want to make this story, like, do the thing you want it to do in your head, we can work with you to see that it happens. So I think having that sense of community and that camaraderie and having someone to sound off ideas every now and then, as much as we like to work in our silos and work quietly, every now and then it helps to sort of sound projects on people and reach out to those who were there. And watu wamejaa, watu wako wengi. If one person says no, move on to one person. If one person wants you to kiss the ring, man, don't kiss rings in Nairobi, man, not in 2022.
And then on the question of the well, my well is mostly my life experiences and also my maternal grandmother. There's this story in our family that they say she used to do it, but I think she told them the story about her terrorizing night runners. Like she'd, that's why I write the way I write. She'd, like they'd come and bump. Her daughters used to sleep in one hut. So like the night runner would come, and they come naked, so they bump their bum, yeah, on on the house, and then they laugh and they run off. So one day, because you just know if you're in the village, you know, man. So one day she put like a karai of stones, now makamoto, like from kunis, you know, like the way you can crack kunis and break it, and then she put it strategically on the door, and then this guy came and burnt it bad. So the story around the village was, if you don't, when you go night running, your wife should be frying nini simsim. So if she doesn't, so they were saying that night his wife didn't do what she was supposed to do. So that story has been around my family for long, and I was like, that's so fascinating. If she actually did that, or she told them that story, like I feel like that spunk, I got it from her. I hope I really want it to be like that. Yeah.
Okay, so my question goes to the three of you, the three panelists. You've talked about the industry, the Kenyan industry, what is working, what is not, mostly what is not working. And my question is, what would you want to see affected? Like, how can the community come together to build a publishing industry that is working for the writers and the authors we have? And by industry, I mean all the players, from the writers to the bookstores like Somanami, to the publishers. Like, how can that ecosystem come together and build a publishing industry that is working for everyone?
From a publisher's perspective, I think these are sort of questions that we'll keep asking, for as long as let me say the power structure is skewed the way it's skewed, the lack of resources, it's the way is resourced, and we constantly have to, if you want to do a project, you have to look for white people money or stuff like that, or take up a loan or something like that. So as long as those factors of production, from the production side in publishing, as long as those factors of production exist and continue to exist, this is 2022, and even when Binya was starting Kwan in 2001, they were still existing. As long as these factors exist, these questions will be there, and we'll keep trying to find out ways of answering them, and to shortcuts up and up, and ways to just make it work for our small ecosystem. Like when we started DRR, we were like, okay, this is an experiment in publishing. First of all, in publishing with friends. So issue 1 was an experiment in publishing with friends. Issue 2, we opened it up to the rest of the world. And then issue 2, we did direct commissions. And then we moved to a single author collection of poetry. And even at that point, when we were talking about publishing 1,000 copies of a poetry collection in Kenya, that is something very risky, something that's a bit experimental. And we are like, the ecosystem is the way it is now, but we are in a place where we can publish 1,000 copies of Michael's book. Why don't we do that? Rajua. And then so you're like, let's do that. And then once you do it, and then you're like, okay, so now we have 1,000 copies here with us. So now we need to work distribution. So how do we do distribution? Who can help us out where? What community structure exists to help us execute this within our budget? And that's where now just reaching out and talking to people and making friends and trying different more affordable methods of production sort of makes it happen. Because our idea was that you should, like, books shouldn't be very expensive and inaccessible, and we also want to tell our stories, and these are not very easy goals, and I don't think they are like instantaneous. So I think it's a question that we'll keep figuring it out, project by project, from one book to the next, from one issue to the next. We learn new things, and we learn how not to burn our fingers, or how to burn our fingers less, I guess. That's from my perspective.
And I think also on that point of ecosystem building, I think there's something in that question about rushing the process that I'd like to address. I think part of the whenever we ask those questions, and maybe again maybe I'm a bit like jaded, but like I think we know what's possible, and we know we have great writers. I mean, we have Linda Musita who'll call you out live, right? The short story tomorrow. You do something wrong today, there's a short story tomorrow. You know, we have writers who can put quality work out there. Like, why isn't it going out there, right? But I feel like for me, there's also something in saying it is happening, and iko sawa. Like, and I think that's what we haven't said. Like, even as I've been concluding, I think iko sawa. I think vitu ziko penye zinafaa kuwa, and moving at the pace they should move. I think the idea of rushing it is actually what causes a lot of literary initiatives to fail, right? Because the fact is the gap between where we need to be and where we are is wide. And like the idea that there should be one literary community is dumb, because like there should be multiple literary communities doing multiple things, and maybe there's like a gathering that brings people from many communities, like a Story Moja Hii festival or something. But like, so I think what needs to happen right now actually is a lot more acceptance and patience. A lot more guys being like, actually, hapa penye tuko, it's fine, and you can work with. Like, look at us, we're in Somanami, I'm gonna be on the internet. Like, iko sawa.
I think just more on the publishers opening space for everyone. Like, if you say you're selling school books only and you're making so much money on school books, have a small imprint, see how it does. Open up space for other kinds of writers that don't necessarily want to or can't even necessarily write for school children. Other publishers around the world have been able to do small imprints, even if you publish like two new writers every year with that. And I'm talking like this wanaitwaje, Kenya Literature Bureau, those if they can just make space for the rest of all these young writers, they're new writers, they're really good. It's just that, and most of us, like, the reason I'm publishing with DRR first is because I want to be my first book to be published in Kenya first. Like, so if they create room for us, they have the money to do it. Their books are even being pirated. If your books are being pirated on the street, it means you're fine. So have some form of diversity. Diversification, because there's a lot of talent. There's Clifton here. Just give him one. Just even establish an imprint just for Clifton, and then just it will be totally 100%. Why are you looking at me like that? It will be 100% worth it, and it's true. So if they could make space for, because like for us when we were growing up, like you'd read EAPL books, like the play books, the Meja Mwangi books, and you'd think like one day it will be me. I remember there was pesetas as well, so you'd feel like that was someone's imprint. You'd feel like there was something there for you to look forward to. But then when you grow up and there's no space for you in this ecosystem that inspired you a lot, that I think they can create space for the rest of us if they want to. They have the muscle to do it. For bookshops, I think books are so expensive, man. There's a book I wanted to buy 2,800. I'm thinking, do I buy milk for 2 weeks, or do I buy a book? And I don't want to do those Telegram groups where share PDFs and stuff like that. So if there was a way to make books cheaper, because I feel like as a writer, if I write a book and it's selling at 3,000 shillings, legit no one is going to buy it. So what was the point? Okay, Melissa will buy it. Yeah, so even if I have this great book and it's being sold, because different bookshops, and I've even said it, there's a bookshop in town, the price of the book compared to another bookshop in it's the same book, but the price
It's okay, that's why we're not in that bookshop. We're here.
Yeah, exactly. The price does not math. It's not adding up, because if I come here, I get the book at like 500 bob cheaper. I go to TBC, it's like 500 bob cheaper. Why are you overpricing books? It's not a designer bag. It's knowledge. knowledge shouldn't be so expensive. It shouldn't be inaccessible.
Well, I mean, Linda, you don't have to worry about the price of the books, because my experience with our people here is as long as the book is good, they stop caring about the price. And I want to give a few examples, like Okwiri Odor's Things They Lost. The book, I mean, it's a hard copy at 2,400, and we did it for book club. People bought, people are still buying it. I mean, so that shouldn't really be a factor, you know. But then something I have noticed is like Okwiri Odor, Yvonne Athiambo, and a few other authors that are doing well have been published outside, or actually have lived outside Kenya. I mean, that says something about our publishing industry, and I'm not trying to castigate DRR. I mean, you're doing a great job, you know. But the fact that Siku Njema by Ken Walibora, I mean, he struggled to get his book published for like 10 years. I mean, and it was a good book. It means we are missing to see the good ideas. There's something that actually we are not doing that we are supposed to be doing as an industry. And I'm talking about the whole publishing, you know, the whole publishing industry. So we don't have to go and live abroad for a white man, I mean, to discover us and publish our books. We are dropping the ball. And I want to compare Kenya with Nigeria. Nigerians, I mean, they're writing books, they're publishing books, good books. Every other month, like, we get, you know, good books. And that's an African country. So there's something that we actually can do better. And Michael, I love the fact that you're saying that, I mean, we are in a good place, but I also believe that we can do better, you know? Yeah.
Then for Michael, hi. Just hi. And and for DRR, I'm waiting for the next DRR edition. I'm a fan. I have all the collections. I love it because that's where I can find Idza, I can find Linda, and those are my two favorite like authors currently. It's a long list, but they're leading at the top. So when is the next edition coming out?
Because of COVID, we started as a quarterly, but because of COVID, it really threw off our plans. So at the moment, we just sort of decided to first of all chill and then sell what we have, the books that we have, because we produce the next issue based on the sales from the last issue, and we still have a couple of stocks in the house. So we were like, let's push this kwanza. So we pushed issue 4 to next year, early next year. Issue 4 is coming out Feb next year. So we'll have a call out next month, and then production for 2 to 3 months, and then hopefully end of Feb, beginning of March, we'll have issue 4, which is a double issue edited by Alexis Teye, who couldn't make it here today, and then 2 other really interesting series editors who they are going to reveal in the coming week or so. So please submit. Yeah, I mean, all our details ziko hapo. If you have something like, we read everything. Like Kaishu 2, we had like 400 submissions and we read all of them. Personally, I read all of them.
It really gives me great joy to see people here conversing about art, but also trying to figure out solutions to problems that we encounter on a daily. So this dialogue gives me great joy, and that you're here at Somanami, this is why we are here. By we, I mean Somanami. So, Modoni, do you want to say something? Okay, Modoni has refused to say something. But Somanami is Modoni and I's baby. We are about a year and a half old in this space. And part of the reason why we don't have shelves in the middle is because we wanted people to always come here and congregate, either in groups of people or come with your friends, and usually have a couch here in the middle. Come with your friend and just sit here and talk about books, drink wine, drink tea, coffee, whatever. But it's a community space, so it's very intentional that we've left this space without shelves. And so the fact that this is happening right now, it's really within the purpose of this space to exist. And for that reason alone, it gives me great joy. Thank you so much, Frank, Michael, Linda, for being the first of this format that we're calling Rhyme and Reason, which is really to interrogate the form and also the substance of literary works. Sawa sawa. Ni hayo tu.